Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Divergent Talent Alchemist. I'm Jen Benford, talent strategist, neurodivergence advocate, and believer that the best careers are the ones designed outside of the box. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Heather Barbour Fenty. Heather is the definition of a multi-passionate creative with an entrepreneurial spirit. She's worn many hats: ghostwriter, book author, HR software sales, even scuba instructor. So she's multi-talented, deeply curious, and thrives in difference. So welcome, Heather. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. That was a good reminder of all the things that I've been working on through the years. I love it.
Yeah, you do a lot of things. So we're gonna talk a lot about that today and what do we mean by multi-passionate. So it's essentially someone who refuses to be limited by just one interest, one career, one path, and identity. So if you're multi-passionate, you follow your curiosity and learn across disciplines, collect skills along the way. So careers are not ladders, they're ecosystems of experiences, lattices, and winding paths. So Heather embodies that spirit fully, and I'm so excited to dig into her story today. So I wanted to start off and talk a little bit, Heather, about your origin story and when did you first realize you were someone who was interested in many different things rather than one single career path?
Yeah, it's really hard to pick one moment in time, but I think probably when I was in college. So I went to East Carolina. Well, I started at NC State, then I moved to East Carolina, and I always had this passion about hairstyling and salons and all of this. So before college, I was like, maybe I'll be a hairdresser, but I didn't go that route. But when I was in college, I had the opportunity to be a manager for a hair salon. And so I'm full-time student. I'm also doing some kind of volunteer work for an organization, learning some skills about content creation and design. So I'm already doing all these things, but I'm like, I really want to be able to do this too. I'm really interested in this. And so I decided, okay, I'll go fully online for my junior and senior year of college so that I can work and do this other stuff at the same time. So that's when I was kind of like using my skills of, let me see if I can do all of these things at once. And it worked. It worked for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. So you're going to school full time and working a job at the same time. That's managing competing priorities for sure is something
Yeah.
that you're good at. You're reminding me, I forgot like the content creation aspect in the introduction. You do just so many things. Thinking back on your career and where you've been so far, all of the wonderful things you've accomplished, what life experiences or pivotal moments led you to such varied professional leaps? From being a scuba instructor to writing a children's book. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, I went to school for communication. When I first started at ECU, I thought I wanted to be on TV, like broadcast journalism. And I took a few classes and I did not love seeing myself, hearing myself on camera. So then I switched over to communication studies, which was, I learned a lot more about different types of communication and marketing and minored in business and all of that. So that was kind of what I went to school for. So when I graduated, I worked in some jobs in marketing departments. And then when I moved from marketing at Delta, that was the distance education learning unit at the time, to working with the entrepreneurship initiative, it was called. So I worked directly with students at NC State who were creating their own businesses and their own companies. And that was really inspirational for me to see, these 18, 19, 20-year olds inventing things and starting companies in college. And so it kind of sparked a fire in me to create my own company. So I worked with one of my friends and we created we franchised Wine and Design. It was one of the first franchises, the Paint and Sip Studios. And so we did that. We moved from Raleigh to Charlotte, started that, did that for a few years, and then had the opportunity to sell that. And it was kind of a bittersweet thing because I'm like, okay, what do I do next? Do I go back into an office and do marketing, or do I do something else? And I always had so much fun kind of creating my own thing that I felt like, okay, I want to, do this scuba thing. So I said, for a year, I'm going to teach scuba diving, learn all I can, figure out which place I want to be, and then kind of landed in Barbados based on the people, that I met at the dive shop. But during that, I was also creating this It's Just Barb's brand, which is, working on content, virtual assistant, travel support. So basically like a travel agent, but with more than that. It just kind of morphed into this new different thing. And then from there, COVID happened and kind of forced me to go back into an office setting, um, where, I was already working with some of the on gig folks, kind of part time while I was scuba diving, but it kind of brought me back into more of an online role, I guess you could say. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, yeah, that is so cool. I didn't realize you had the paint and sip studio. I used to love going there. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
we have a couple here in Wilmington area. What a cool experience.
Yeah, it was fun. It was very fun. I actually just went back a couple of weeks ago and saw the new owner that we kind of transferred everything over to. It was really great to see her, and she's still thriving in Charlotte, and it was great.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's a great lead into my next question for you. We've both worked a lot in the HR space, and we know that transferable skills are out there. So I myself, having worked in talent attraction and acquisition space, partnering with hiring managers for a big chunk of my career, you've done some of the same work. I'm a huge proponent in investing in people and giving opportunities because of transferable skills. And I'd love to know from your perspective, what's one skill from a completely unrelated job that unexpectedly helped you succeed in another one?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of my first, so right when I got out of ECU, I had a little bit of a break before I started my job at NC State. And I worked for a family friend, a company that does technology sales for small businesses when they start up. And so a part of that job, it was like outside sales, and I had to go and work leads and meet people and network. And from that job, things like BNI, I don't know if you know what BNI is, but Business Network International, you go to the meeting, you stand up and you say, I'm Heather, this is what I do. And then you kind of, share your contact information, share leads, things like that. So I think just getting up and talking to people, being in front of people, which was something that I wasn't always used to doing outside of just my classes. Um, I still go back to those experiences and I can kind of connect that to what I do in all my different jobs. So that kind of laid the foundation for me to be able to go talk to people in a community, or do a sales call for on gig, or, talk to people on the scuba boat when there's 15 people staring at your face and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I say? I feel like just doing that and getting those reps in of, just standing up and talking about who you are and public speaking has kind of helped, because you have to talk to people no matter what job you're doing. So I think that's really helped me.
Yeah, awesome. Communication, public speaking. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Such a valuable skill in any role that you have. And I meant to ask you earlier too more about the program at NC State. That is so cool, the entrepreneurial program. For anybody who's listening who might be interested in pursuing something like that, I think it's it's interesting, right? Because we are told at such a young age that we have to pick a path, and oftentimes we end up maybe in a path that we don't necessarily love, right? So for
Yeah.
anybody listening, tell us more about like some of the takeaways from that program, what you learned. Would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Did it, Heather? Did it cut out? Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
oh, there you are.
I'm
Sorry about that.
Hey, good editing. That's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so entrepreneurship initiative, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I was actually my next door neighbor, good friend growing up. She started with the program, and she was kind of the main person. She left and then opened her own company. She's in real estate now, has her own real estate company. But anyway, I kind of filled in for her when she left and became the marketing director for Entrepreneurship Initiative. And so it was really interesting because, and I'm not sure exactly how it is now, but I know there's still, a program at NC State for entrepreneur students. But basically, there was a track of, even if you were in engineering or business, you could come into this, they called it the garage, and work on your passion projects, talk to real investors, potential investors, things like that, get support and mentoring from professors, and different types of people in the community. It was really interesting because these students, they probably were in a place where they didn't love classes, right? They're like, I don't want to just go to school and be an accountant. They're like, I want to explore some different things. So this program really gave them the opportunity to test things out, and get real buy-in. I mean, some of these people have their own companies now and their own products. They've been, in the news. It's really awesome. And I'm sure there are more programs like that around here, especially with the RTP area and all of that.
Yeah. That's really cool. What an awesome, what an awesome college experience. So, pivoting a little bit, as a neurodivergent person myself, I work with other people who a lot of times feel pressure to have to pick one thing. And I wanted to know from your perspective, have there been moments where you've felt that type of pressure to have to pick one track? And how did you navigate that in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like there's a cycle of that for my whole career. When you first graduate and then like I bought a townhouse and I'm like, okay, well, I have to have a real job so I can pay for this townhouse, right? Um, but luckily I had kind of a single job for a while, but I was always working on little other things. I think the other bigger time was when I found out I was pregnant with my son. Um, and I'm like, okay, do I need to cut back on some things? And I did for a while because I knew that, well, I didn't know how it was going to be, honestly. People are warning me, right? They're like, your life is about to turn upside down. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine, whatever. I knew there was a change coming, so I did scale back on some things that I was working on. For the first year and a half, I'm just now, Lucas 2, he'll be 3 next April. But I'm just now starting to get my rhythm again and doing more book writing and, things that make me excited outside of just, my regular work stuff. So I think it comes up every once in a while. It pops in the back of my mind. I'm like, should I just focus on one thing? But I know that I'm happier when I'm doing multiple things.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
shout out to all the moms who are listening, Heather included. I don't have kids, and I can only imagine how challenging yet rewarding it is to be a mom. I have my fur babies, and we have a little farm, but being a human mom and juggling everything in your daily life, and then having a job and all of that, it is a big job in itself. And so kudos to you all. And then Heather, I'd love to hear more about your books, your children's books, because I see the marketing on LinkedIn and social platforms, and it looks awesome. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and related to the mom life thing, I am a very organized person. I always have been, and I'm very much like I need to have everything in line and perfect. And that's kind of gone out the window. So things are a little bit messier, but sometimes it's good, right? So you never know what you're going to get. And some days are up, some days are down. But anyway, it makes for an exciting time for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so originally my first book that I wrote, they're all kids' books and they're all kind of inspired by underwater creatures because scuba instructor. I love the water. Um, and also my cousin who has multiple children that have disabilities, physical and mental. So I've been around them for their whole lives and seen how people treat them in certain situations because of, just who they are, and that's how they are, and they're great kids. Anyway, the meaning behind the books is really just be inclusive of people, be nice, be a good person. Everybody has their own thing going on. So I wrote that book back in 2020 and then kind of took a break until Luca was born, and then wrote another one, so kind of like a follow on to the series. And then I'm also writing one about Luca and Barbados, which I'm really excited about. And then I decided I wanted to do some journals for kids, a little bit older age group, so like 5 and up. I really like journaling and writing stuff down and doing daily activities. So I figured why not add to the C, I call it the C series. So you can actually, work with your kids about friendship and feelings and including people. And there's some fun, sea creature activities and prompts and things for, daily fun, I guess you could say. And I'm working on some that are holiday inspired as we go into the holiday season.
That's so exciting. And we can find them on Amazon, right? In terms
Yep.
of, okay, very cool.
Yeah, or my website, it's just barbs.com. There's a tab for books for kids, and I add all of them on as they go live on Amazon.
Love it. If you are
Hmm.
listening, go check out Heather's children's books. They sound incredible. We need more children's books like that around, just being different and having that support. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna go myself and order some after we hop off. Send some
Thank you.
to my niece. Yeah. So in terms of myths, right? We from a hiring manager perspective in HR, um, we hear this misconception about people maybe bouncing around. Talk to us a little bit about misconceptions with being multi passionate that you wish people understood better.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen, in real life people be denied for, an interview or something because they had a gap, and I feel like in any situation, it's all about communication. Ask them, what were you doing during this time? And, was there a family thing, or was it, you needed just a mental reset because you had a hard time in your last position? Just talk through it and figure out what it was. I think now more so than maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, people are more open to these types of things. But I know like my parents' generation, they've worked for the same place for like 35 years. They didn't have any jumping around. So they've always kind of not talked down to me or anything like that, but like, don't you want to just pick one thing? And I'm like, no, I don't. It's just not my personality, right? But yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to do different things, and I think it's more accepted. With like my generation, for sure. I have friends that, every 5 years or 7 years they do something different just because of the circumstances of their lives, and maybe they want to switch things up. So I definitely think it's okay to do things that make you happy too, because you don't want to just go through the motions of life and then get to the end and you're like, I really wish I would have done X, Y, and Z, and I didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's such great advice. I love that. And in terms of, embracing neurodiversity and different interests, that can be a little bit of a balancing act too, right? So, for the people listening, how do you decide which passion to focus on when you have several exciting ideas competing for your attention?
Yeah, I like I said, I'm very scheduled. So I have a master's in project management, so I'm like a a list and a spreadsheet person. So I schedule out time on my calendar, I make lists. Sometimes um just how I am when I wake up that day, I'm more motivated to work on something. Luckily, I have the flexibility to kind of move my time around as needed. But yeah, I would definitely say schedule things out, do blocks of time, for like creativity time, downtime, let me work on blogs at this point, let me work on this at that point. I think that helps me keep everything organized on a day to day basis. And, just keeping in mind that you can be flexible too. Like if something comes up, you can shift and do what you need to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because I think sometimes society puts a ton of pressure on us and makes it feel like we have to constantly be productive and do all the things, but then, we may only have so much energy in a day. I love what you said about time blocking too. That's been really helpful for me as well. For those of you listening, chunk time on your calendar, like Heather said, for creativity, whether it's writing or content creation. I think that's even if you're in a job now that maybe is not your forever job, like finding time in your day to do like passion projects as well, things that you love. That's really important. Um, and you're never stuck, so you can always find something different. To Heather's point, um, what would you say to someone who wants to explore a non-linear career path, but and we touched on this a little bit, but they're afraid of looking inconsistent to prospective future employers on their resume, etc.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's all about kind of balancing time but I mean, I think build in the time to test it out and see if it's something that you like. And you don't have to just totally quit everything and move to something different. Maybe just kind of dip your feet in, see how it is, and just kind of do almost like test projects. Like, do I really want to do this or do I not? I definitely have gone into a few kind of research things and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't really want to do this. I'll just move on to the next thing. But yeah, I definitely would say I'm all about going for it.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
care what don't care what other people think unless they're going to pay your bills. My mom always says, if they're not lining up to pay your bills, then who cares what they think?
I love that. You have a pretty big network too, right? Like if somebody's advice for people who are looking to maybe make a pivot or dip their toe in, I'd imagine like networking is probably a big part of what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Always lean on the people that you know and don't be afraid to just reach out to someone. I know there's a lot of people, especially on like LinkedIn and different places that are trying to get you to buy things and whatever. But I think, just being a human and reaching out to someone and saying, I like what you're doing and I just want to, connect. I don't, that to me is a good thing because you never know. You might see them at a conference in the future or run into them, at a coffee shop or need their advice or they need your advice in the future. So definitely, you know, reach out and connect with people that are in areas that you're interested in.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. This has been such an incredible conversation. Is there anything else that you would add or advice you'd have for the people listening?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and this is kind of random, but I think it I think it matters in general. But when you're working on a lot of different things, sometimes you can forget about yourself and what you need. And I think one of those really important things is sleep. There was a while where I was going through a phase where I wasn't sleeping. There were so much things going on that I just couldn't sleep at night. So for me, I kind of write things down, dump them. Even if I wake up in the middle of the night, just write an idea down and then go back to sleep because your brain needs sleep, your body needs sleep to do life.
I love that. That is such
Yeah.
great advice, Heather. Thank you so so much for sharing your story, for reminding us that being multi-passionate is an incredible strength. It's courage to reinvent yourself. It's curiosity to keep learning, and creativity to connect dots others might not even see. So for everybody listening, I hope this episode gives you the permission to stop asking what box do I fit into, and start asking what paths am I excited to explore. Heather, I'm grateful for your friendship and for the way you show up in the world.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, you truly embody what it means to thrive in difference and be successful. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Divergent Talent Alchemist. If Heather's journey resonated with you, share this interview with someone who might need that reminder too. And as always, you can find more insights, stories, and resources on Divergent Talent Alchemist Substack or benfordtalentalchemy.com. Another plug for Heather's children's book series. Don't forget to go on Amazon and order there, and
Thank
subscribe to
you.
her Substack as well. It's just Barb's. I will drop the handle in the accompanying article. So thank you, Heather, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.